Buenos días, clase. Voy a hablar sobre 5.04. I'm going to talk about 06.04. Escribamos un ensayo persuasivo. Okay, so it's writing a persuasive essay. This essay is short. This is going to be a short essay, not a 5-paragraph essay that you are used to in English class. So this whole theme is about my environment. I want to first point out very quickly that, like I've talked about in the SLO this semester, that if you do a really great job with your 06.04 assignment, your 06.08 assignment will be a breeze. So it's really important to, they are basically the exact same assignment. There are just 2 extra requirements that you need to add into your persuasive essay for 06.08. So if you do a really great job on this, you've basically done all the work for 06.08. So just make sure you remember that and don't turn into totally different assignments, because you're just making yourself do a lot more work than you need to. Hold on. Excuse me. Okay. Sorry. Okay, so it says, un ensayo persuasivo. Imagine you are asked to talk about a natural disaster. In this lesson, you will plan a rough draft for un ensayo persuasivo about natural disasters. Check out the example of un ensayo persuasivo. So it says los huracanes, okay, which is the hurricanes. So it starts out with a question. ¿Sabías que el huracán Irma pasó por el estado de la Florida en el año 2017? Muchas personas en el estado de la Florida se estaban quedando sin casas a causa de las inundaciones del huracán Irma. Estoy luchando para que protejas tu casa de las inundaciones. Te estoy escribiendo para que protejas tu casa del viento de los huracanes. Okay, so this is a persuasive essay, so they're trying to persuade you of something. So let's go to the next section. And I'm sure if you've listened to what I've said, you can pick out there are a lot of cognates in that. Huracan is like hurricane. That's not a cognate, but it's very similar to hurricane. You've got Florida. Florida is Florida. Florida is Florida. Okay, so there are definitely things you can pull out and try to eke out as much understanding as possible, as well as there's a lot of repeat vocabulary words from the past 2 years of Spanish. So it says, step 1, choose one natural disaster. So just choose one to talk about, not, all that are possible. Just try to focus on one specific case. So your mission is to write a rough draft for un ensayo persuasivo about one natural disaster. And it gives you encouragement and says, you've got all the skills to do it. So below here, it says the biggest thing here is choose one natural disaster from below and use the information to research your natural disaster. So you don't have to pick one of these, but I would really encourage you to just pick one of these. It just helps you kind of narrow down what you need to write about, and it gives you kind of a way to move forward and kind of focus your attentions. So you can focus on smokes and fires. One of the causes of smoke is a fire. Fires in the forest are very dangerous. So this is all in English, so you can read through all of these different options there. All right, go to the next section. And it says step 2, use what you've learned. So use what you have learned so far in this module to write a rough draft of un ensayo persuasivo. This is what you need to include in your rough draft. It calls it a rough draft specifically because, every draft that you write is a rough draft, but this is the rough draft that you will use again in 06.08. So it's just kind of reminding you that, this is one draft and you'll have a final draft later in 06.08. So you have 2 opportunities to improve this. So what to include in your rough draft? So beginning, start with a hook. Okay, a hook is, something that grips people and makes them want to keep reading. So the hint here, did you know asking a question is a great way to hook your audience? So you can use the verb saber or conocer in the imperfect tense to ask a question about an interesting fact from this research. that's what they did in your example. They said, "Sabías?" Like they were like, "Did you know that?" I can't remember what the hook was about. Oh, Hurricane Irma. So it's a great way to start your thing off. Next, you state your claim. What is the natural disaster you chose affecting the area? What is the natural disaster you chose affecting the area? Use verbs in the present progressive tense to state your claim about the natural disaster. And I'm going to give you all examples of this in the guide that helps you write this. So this is I'm just going over kind of the requirements right now. You need to insert one fact. So provide one fact about the natural disaster from your research about it. So when they say natural disaster, they kind of want you to talk about a very specific natural disaster. So, Hurricane Irma is a great example. Hurricane Ivan. You can talk about like forest fires. There's horrible forest fires almost every year somewhere in the world, if not in multiple, like in lots of places. So, and like flooding, we just had a really bad flood. I mean, well, we had a flood in 2010 in Nashville. So you have lots of different things to talk about. Lots of natural disasters that you can choose from. And just research some information about those. And then your fact 2 is provide another fact about the natural disaster from the research. Okay, so make sure you're using Spanish vocabulary, words, and phrases to support your claim. Okay, so I'm going to show you the guide. This is a link to kind of the template for writing this, but I'm going to show you, I kind of use this to create a guide that has a little more information for you. So I'm going to pause this while I navigate over to that. Okay, so I'm going to show you the guide to kind of help you write this. This is going to be in your material section where you can look at resources that I've given you to guide you on how to write your Ensayo Persuasivo. Okay, so this is the document that will be in your material section. At the very top, I always try to put how your grade will look, the comments, what the comments will look like on your submission. So there's just so that you're prepared for that. And also I need to address one thing on the instructions. So your instructions for this assignment are a little bit different than what is written in the actual assignment submission area. So just be prepared for that. I will try to see if I can get that edited because it's a little confusing, but so right here at the top, this is what you'll see when you submit your assignment for 06.04. It'll say, write the rough draft about protecting a species in danger of extinction. You may copy and paste the accented and special characters from the list. You do need that still. Your rough draft should be written in complete sentences in Spanish and include the following requirements. So this is what you'll see in my submission. This requirement is met, requirement is missing. You'll see in my comments, and then you'll see the 4 big requirements, and when you submit it, I will say, I'll put X's here if you've met them. I'll put missing here if you haven't. And if you turn it in and you have things that are missing, I will point you to this guide. I usually paste this guide into the bottom of the comments so you can easily access it. But then also this whole document is in the materials section of the course. So you can find it, and it's labeled just like this, 06.04 guide to help you write Ensayo Persuasivo. So anyway, I'm going to go through kind of this guide so to help you and hopefully answer any questions about like how to write this and what kind of was expected of you. So if you look at this example, I'm going to read you this example. This is the full essay. So it is, about 4 sentences. So it's not real long. Please try to make it as simple as possible for your own sake, and try not to turn, you don't have to turn in something that's like, 1,000 words or something like that. So, okay, so your full example, your hook question is the first thing they want to see. You want to get a hook going. So it says, ¿Sabías que el huracán Irma pasó por el estado de la Florida en el año 2017? Okay, so it says, did you know that Hurricane Irma passed through the state of Florida in 2017? In the year 2017? So that's your first question. It says, muchas personas en el estado de la Florida se estaban quedando sin casas a causa de las inundaciones del huracán Irma. And said a lot of people in the state were left homeless because of the floods from the hurricane. Okay, so it says, actually, is that floods? Or is it way? Yeah, floods. Okay, very good. All right. Estoy luchando para que okay, so that's that sentence. She's giving information, like giving you your claim. So you're stating a claim. Okay, so that's an example of the claim. Like a lot of people in the state were left homeless because of the floods. Okay, so then the person states their fact. Fact 1 and fact 2 is the next two sentences. So it says, estoy luchando. This is present progressive that they're using. Estoy luchando para que protejas tu casa de las inundaciones. So it says, I'm fighting fighting so that you protect your house from the hurricanes. And then the next sentence is, te estoy escribiendo para que protejas tu casa del viento de los huracanes. So it says, I'm writing to you in order for you to protect your house from wind from the hurricanes. Okay. So up here, so that's like the full example of the whole essay. Okay. So in English and Spanish. So the beginning, you start with a hook. It gives you a hint here. It says, did you know asking a question is a great way to hook your audience? Use saber or conocer in the imperfect tense to ask a question about an interesting fact from your research. So your example is sabía. So your example says, it's the first sentence from our example paragraph. ¿Sabías que el huracán Irma pasó por el estado de la Florida en el año 2017? The suggestion I have for you is to review saber and conocer in lesson 06.02, just so you have the correct conjugation of saber or conocer, and then on your own you formulate a question. Find your hook. How would you hook someone in information about a flood? And you can use the same format. Did you know that a forest fire in the town of the town outside of Gatlinburg destroyed a lot of forests and a lot of houses a few years ago? And you can figure out the year that happened. It was just a few years ago that happened. So outside of Gatlinburg, they had a bunch of forest fires. So you have lots of options. Like I said, you can narrow your options by choosing one of the three in the lesson that they give you in lesson 06.04. Okay, so my suggestion for you is to kind of start your sentence out with sabías que, like, did you know that? And then this is your opportunity to fill in your hook question about your chosen natural disaster. So you need to do some research and figure out what kind of hook what information you want to have in your hook. Okay, your next is you're going to state your claim. You're going to use verbs in the present progressive tense to state your claim and about the natural disaster. And your example is, muchas personas en el estado de la Florida se estaban quedando. So this is present progressive, but this is also imperfect here. So you can just say, you don't have to use estaban. You can say están. I mean, it's not currently happening, but in the requirements, it has you using present progressive. So, se estaban quedando, they are homeless because of the floods from Hurricane Irma. It's really hard to switch back from Spanish and English easily when reading this to you. So excuse me stumbling over the words. All right, so your example is, muchas personas en el estado de la Florida se estaban quedando sin casas a causa de las inundaciones del huracán Irma. Hold on, let me check my time. I'm going to run out of time, I think. Okay, I'm going to continue this in part 2 because I'm going to run out of time.